have arrived. It's Blacklisted Radio. My name is Doug Owen, and I am your host. I am senior editor of blacklistednews.com. It's the 12th day of July 2015, and you can join me live at blacklistedradio.com. We have some giveaways to get to during the show today. We have some T-shirts. We have some other things that we will be promoting, so stay tuned for that. Hope you had a great weekend. I was fortunate enough to enjoy some time with friends and family. Went to Camp Wood, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere, South Texas, and enjoyed a weekend of hanging out and sitting in the river. The Nueces River, thanks to all of the rain, is absolutely gorgeous. And it was a great time to update the servers at blacklistednews.com. So there were scarce updates, although as soon as I got back today, we published 20-plus articles to keep you in the loop with what's happening in Greece, what's happening with the dollar, the economic melees, and Jade Helm. So a lot to get to. Of course, you can call into the show, 800-313-9443. Would love to hear from you. You can also text me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 512-222-3067. And on Twitter, our handle is BLN Radio. I monitor that almost daily. So, it's kind of nice to get away for a couple days because sometimes you get so wrapped up in the news, the headlines. I had a good friend, Craig Simpson, who came on the show last week, and we talked about this, the constant barrage of news and how that does psychologically affect people. And I think that most people that have been listening to this show, especially, or listen to radio shows like this, people that follow the alternative media, have kind of gone through the ebb and flow, the ups and downs, the emotional roller coaster that is the world, that is news that we follow, and what it does to people. It can make you crazy. I mean, it's one thing to be informed, and the smarter you are, the more information that you have at hand, and understanding how the world works makes things much clearer. It completely eradicates this illogical response that we have to stupid stories. And I've got one that I want to get to. We'll start off the show with this because it's a laughing out loud kind of story, but it's one that really does highlight the massive amount of propaganda that's happening. By the way, the Middle East is on fire. Tons of bombs and murders, deaths have been happening in Baghdad, Afghanistan. Saw a huge car bombing campaign, killing many people, civilians in Afghanistan. So billions, probably in the aggregate, trillions of dollars later. Not much has changed there. Not much to say. Tunisia, the terror attacks over the last few weeks. Most of you have been following that. If you haven't, a lot of Tunisian terrorists. They have a huge dragnet roundup of over 1,000 people. They're saying 1,000 to 1,500, and who knows how many people have ended up at black sites, courtesy of the CIA. But nonetheless, I mean, looking at the world, it hasn't quite blown up. It's nice to get away for a couple days and then come back and realize that yes, things do continue as usual. But there's a lot of things that are happening. So next weekend, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do the show. One of the things I don't talk about a lot is, my personal anecdotes and life stories. At least not as much because, we only do a weekly podcast, and many of you are just not interested. But next week, I will be at the IPCPR in New Orleans. If you're in New Orleans, shoot me a text. Let me know. Maybe we can hang out and do a little meetup. Go out for some dinner. I'll be there at the IPCPR, which is the International Premium Cigar and Pipe Retailers Convention. It's kind of an insider convention for people that are in the cigar world. And for many of you that follow me on Twitter, you may know that I am also a cigar maker. It's one of the things that I do that kind of gets me to a place where, I mean, some people do have art. Some people have hobbies. Some of you are drone operators. A lot of you are drone operators. A lot of you are astronomers. there's just it's such an interesting, eclectic listenership that we have in some of the context that the back and forth that I have with some of you is really inspiring. And needless to say, it's just another bad habit, I guess you could phrase it, when looking at making cigars. But one of the things I do like to do is not just smoke premium cigars, handmade ones, of course. I like to roll them, and I actually have a cigar brand that over the last year and a half I've been working on. Talk about a lot of legal loopholes, or not loopholes, but legal issues that you have to resolve. But a year and a half in the making with this line. And by the way, tonight, if you decide for whatever reason, if you are one of the few, probably one or two of you that listen to the show that enjoy fine cigars, you can go to La Verdad. That is the truth. Of course, my cigar brand name is pretty cliche, but I like it. It's La Verdad Cigars.com, and that equates to thetruthcigars.com. Translates anyway. And if you use the coupon code VIP33, I will take that 10% discount that I'm giving you and actually donate that to RBN. And if you call into the show tonight and you're not a troll, we will give you a free t-shirt. All right. So, yeah, next week I'll be doing that. And if you follow me on Instagram, just look up La Verdad, and you'll find the other Doug Owen, the cigar enthusiast Doug Owen. You'll see a lot of the personal pictures and things that I'll be not only tweeting out, but putting up on Instagram from the International Premium Cigar and Pipe Retailers Convention. So, yeah, little hobby that I have. One of the many irons in the fire that we like to do. It's kind of a family business, so it's something that not only myself but other members of my family, including my wife, are all kind of part of. And yeah, we'd like to have a nice adult beverage and enjoy a premium cigar when you can. And it's a great way to sit down and kind of slow down the world. That's why I like cigars so much, because they demand your attention and they take a lot of time. So you have to kind of allocate at least an hour of your day to, ruminating, reflecting. If you're with others, you're having conversations. And one of the conversations that came up a lot over the weekend, unfortunately, but topically and timely, is the Operation Jade Helm. So a lot of people, especially family members, consider me to be, the conspiracy guy. What's Doug's take on this? What's Doug's take on that? People, kind of expect me to have some kind of insight. And I think it's a testament to how concerned citizens really are about the U.S. military operating on U.S. soil in this multi-state, multinational training exercise that is going on. And I think it also highlights the distrust that average Americans are now having with the federal government. Distrust is something that is healthy. You should have skepticism. I would consider myself to be a very critical and skeptical guy when it comes to just about anything. I mean, I don't buy it unless I've done a little bit of research. And I'll tell people quite honestly, what's your take? On X topic, and I'll say, well, I really don't know. I don't have an opinion as of yet. It takes a while to have an informed opinion. Everybody has an opinion. The question is your opinion informed? So I saw this in the Houston Chronicle, and I think it's great that people are holding the government accountable. When it comes to Jade Helm, a lot of conspiracy theories that are surrounding this. A lot of people believe that this operation could go live, and what ensues, the FEMA camps and rounding up of U.S. civilians. I will just tell you that I'm not of the ilk that kind of buys into that, because I'll be honest. I don't know what the reasoning or why the government would need to put people into camps. You got to feed them. If you round them up and start killing them, you're going to have some problems. It's not going to be a big positive PR campaign. And so, I just don't see too many reasonable situations where something like that has to happen at this point. I mean, not to say that the government hasn't, and not just the U.S. government, but governments around the world haven't rounded up citizens. But, the chance for that happening is probably pretty slim. The other side of that, and one of the things the media loves to do is go and find the most ridiculous conspiracy theories that are easily disassembled and highlight why those things are fake and silly and stupid, and that's why anybody out there that has an informed opinion about Jade Helm is immediately pushed away, cast to the lunatic fringe, ostracized from a discussion. But the media is having a really hard time doing that, and more people are just making themselves the media. And that is one of the, I guess, upsides of having total surveillance in the hands of not only the government, but people in general. And basically, you have citizen journalists that can hold the military accountable and can report. One of the things that definitely seems very sinister to me is the fact that the U.S. military has barred all media from covering and being involved in filming and reporting on Jade Helm. And if this is all of the things that we've heard from the military, from the government, this preparation for a scenario very much like the one that we have in the United States, which makes no sense, and you can poke 1,000 holes in the story, the official reasoning. But if you just look at the fact that they don't want us to see what is happening, it's more than likely, it only seems reasonable that it is because most people would be appalled. So out of the Houston Chronicle, when the troops land in Texas for Operation Jade Helm next week, someone will be waiting for them. Hundreds of people have organized a, quote, counter Jade Helm surveillance operation across the southwestern states, and in an effort to keep an eye on the contentious military drill that has sparked many suspicious of Uncle Sam's intentions, rightfully, I would add. Eric Johnson, a 51-year-old retired firefighter and sheriff's deputy who lives in Kerrville, is a surveillance team leader in Texas. He'll coordinate 3 groups of volunteers, about 20 folks in total, who hope to monitor the SEALs, Green Berets, and the Air Force Special Operations in Bastrop, Big Spring, and Junction, where Jade Helm kicks off on the 15th. With media prohibited from the drills, the volunteers could be a main source of information from the highly anticipated 7-state exercise, but locations more precise than the towns around which will remain unknown. So, citizens are filling in the gap. Governor Abbott, the new governor that has replaced the governor, Rick Perry, here in Texas, who is now going to throw his hat in for the presidential selection of 2016. No longer there. We have Governor Abbott. He said that the National Guard would be sent in to monitor these drills. And a lot of people gave him flack about this, but I think that it speaks. If a politician is doing it, it speaks to the fact that he knows a lot of, at least Republicans that voted for him, are very, very interested in these drills. And when anybody in the political sphere responds to this media attention, bringing more attention to not only themselves and the operation itself, Jade Helm, you have to think that there are a lot of, if not millions of people in Texas that he is trying to placate to. So when it comes to Jade Helm, what's actually happening on the ground, what ends up being this drill, and the operations. And if you look at the actual military planning, it's for being able to mix and meld into the population, to go unnoticed, and to conduct operation drills inside of small cities in Texas and around the these 7 states, and all around the Central Texas area. They will be basically plotting to infiltrate and, I don't know, maybe take over Texas towns, working with your police to monitor, quote-unquote, dissidents. Maybe some of you out there, the anarchists, have always been a target by the U.S. military. In and of itself is a highlight of how militarized the U.S. police departments themselves have become, and the multi-jurisdictional task forces that will be working with U.S. Northern Command, the DOD, the Navy SEALs, the Green Berets, on and on, is a highlight of, well, this transformation over the last 14 years, post-September 11th, 2001. We've seen this militarization only expand exponentially. So I don't think people will be rounded up in the FEMA camps. Maybe you do. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't know where they would, of course, put all of these people for any length of time without a lot of attention. I think that the downside of something like that would be much higher than the upside. Not just nationally, but internationally. It's just unpopular. It'd be a really great thing for Russia to talk about, the rounding up of Jade, Helm, and citizens in the U.S. It probably wouldn't go over that well. But anyway, we have other stories like El Chapo Guzman, the Sinaloa cartel leader escaping prison. Feel free to chime in, 1-800-313-9443. We go to Minnesota to talk to Mike. Mike, welcome to Blacklisted Radio.
Hi, Doug. Good evening.
To you as well, sir.
I just wanted to say something, 2 things. Once real quick on the cigars. In Puerto Rico, my uncle was a coffee grower, but he liked to, this is way back in the 70s, he liked to smoke a really good cigar. And I heard that a lot of actually very fine tobacco is grown in Puerto Rico because of the similarities in climate, rainfall, shade, very similar to that of Cuba, which isn't really that far away. And what do you think about the tobacco strains that come out of Puerto Rico regarding cigars?
Okay, great, and I appreciate the call. Yeah, when it comes to Puerto Rican tobacco, it's not that popular in the premium cigar world. You just don't see a lot of Puerto Rican tobacco being used. But I have smoked tobaccos, not a Puro, which is one that is completely Puerto Rican, although I'm sure they have them. I haven't smoked one. And if you have any good recommendations, please email me on that. But the industry is really booming in Nicaragua. And I'm really interested to see what this new Chinese-Nicaraguan parallel Panama Canal that's going to be going through this beautiful freshwater lake in the center of Nicaragua, Lake Nicaragua, what kind of consequences, repercussions come from this industrialization. So Nicaragua has become the big hotbed for new up-and-coming producers of tobacco. One of the things that's pretty advantageous is that the government is not completely corrupt. The cartels have not taken over Nicaragua, and because of the massive amounts of tobacco growing that goes on there, the government has other ways to fund itself besides narco-terrorism. So it's safe for Americans to be able to operate. And one of the things is that kind of with almost any business, but especially with cigars. Oh, we hit the break. Dang it. And welcome back. It's Blacklisted Radio. All right, so I was talking about the Puerto Rican cigars, was it Puerto Rican? Yeah, Puerto Rico. You would think with the economy being the way it is that you would see a lot more of a shift towards tobacco and other commodities and other exports as a focus. But yeah, I'm sure it's great tobacco. The big countries for it right now, the up and coming is Nicaragua. Of course, the Dominican Republic, I think, is still king when it comes to producing premium cigars. And there's a lot of other states. Honduras puts out a lot of great wrappers. Even Mexico has the San Andreas wrapper, famous wrapper, which is the outer leaf, that is very, very fuerte, strong, and somewhat sweet. Has some cinnamon notes. I'm a big fan of them. But, I think that's just because Dominican economy, the DR has the third largest economy, or the third fastest growing economy in the world. So there's a lot of reasons that people make cigars in the Dominican. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with tax reasons, labor costs, all of that that goes into the exportation. It's quite a big deal to bring a cigar in, just like anything, to import products into the U.S. Well, if you do it legally, if you're not the Chinese or other huge multinational corporations working on the behest or for companies like Walmart, so it's a big deal. It's a pain in the butt. You have to work with the ATF. You have to pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. You have to have an importer. So, but I think that you're going to see a lot more. There's kind of a renaissance of premium cigars happening, although, the government is doing everything it can to demonize all tobacco products, just like cigarettes. And there is a huge distinction between cigarettes, which are devised, that are designed to give the user nicotine, that is designed to chemically designed, even genetically modified to produce people that are addicted. That's the model. Premium cigars, there's a lot of nicotine in them, but you shouldn't be inhaling them. You will, absorb some nicotine, but it's a far cry from smoking cigarettes. You don't inhale it into your lungs, so even though it does go into your mouth, and some people blow it through their nose, it's not nearly as dangerous. Although I wouldn't say that it's a safe alternative. But if you look at all of the reports and studies about tobacco, they focus on cigarettes and cancer rates. And, to be honest, there's just no cigar lobby out there that is powerful enough to counter most of the rhetoric when it comes to getting cancer from premium tobacco. We have no idea. And nobody's interested in doing any of that R&D. And there's almost no distinction between that and cigarettes. So, cigarettes that are filled with ammonia and 100 plus other chemicals, looking at those cancer rates, is it the tobacco? Is it the nicotine that is killing so many people? Or is it what's in the filters and all the other products? There is no distinction. And basically, there's just like anything that you love, there's a war on premium cigars. This is one of the things, kind of bummer. You try to get away from that, and then you find, oh man, there's a whole other lobbying group that's coming after just about anything that you enjoy, whether it's beer, cigarettes, tobacco, anything that's a syntax. They're coming for it. Chicago, bankrupt morally and fiscally, is coming after Netflix users, trying to tax you to use the internet to enjoy, Hollywood TV shows and documentaries. And as more and more people shift to that, they're saying, well, we have a bankrupt socialist government. What can we do to fleece people just a little bit more? Let's tax people that are using Netflix. I mean, it just, it highlights the bankruptedness of just about not just the government, but the corrupt politicians that are learning or new ways to fill their coffers. I could rail on, but I'll let you do that. 1-800-313-9443. Dave in Nevada, you're on Blacklisted Radio. Welcome. Oh, you know what? We got a break, so we'll come back on the other side of that break. We'll get Dave and your phone calls as well. All right, welcome back. It's Blacklisted Radio. All right, enough cigar talk. Let's go to Dave in Nevada and talk to him. Dave, what's going on, man?
What's up? I was listening to what you were saying about tobacco and cigars, and I kind of have the same issue with the way they treat alcohol and lump all alcohol in the same category, especially in the States. Because I like fine cigars, but I'm more of a wine aficionado.
Nice.
And I really respect the wine industry. It's like Napa and Bordeaux, and there's a real culture and tradition behind winemaking. And in America, that kind of gets lost because it's all thrown into kind of this whole drunken drivingness and binge drinking that our culture has been kind of indoctrinated into. And if you look at the way other cultures treat alcohol, especially in older cultures, like in Europe, it's a totally different mindset. They do not have alcoholism. And they even start drinking at a very early age because they train their kids to drink gradually.
Sure.
At the dinner table. So it's a totally different mindset. But at any rate, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jade Helm in response to what you were saying.
Sure.
And I agree with you. If someone asked me about Jade Helm and for my take on it, I would say the same thing. I don't know. Because frankly, to be informed is kind of a silly idea with regards to Jade Helm because we don't have any information about it because they won't give it to us. Right.
And so that leads people to kind of fill in the blanks, and when that happens, you never know what you get. I mean, obviously, we know that.
Right, and what you get are people who speculate on symbols, like the Jade Helm symbol, and this means this, and this means that, and China's coming in. That's not a good idea. So I'm kind of in the same boat, but I just had a question on why this is all centering around Texas, and why I'm not sure. I'm not sure why this is all centered. I know it's going around in different parts of the West and different states, but it seems like the central area is Texas.
Well, I can speculate. I think that when you look at what the federal government has been up against, it's people like Cliven Bundy rejecting the taxes that he had to pay. Even before that, we've had many other encounters between so-called white supremacists and other anarchists and sovereign citizens, which are getting a lot of attention lately. And so my speculation, my best, analysis would be that the federal government is preparing for more and more people that are going to be armed and protecting their property. And especially in Texas, when you look at water rights, there's a huge issue with the amount of water there is and the need to, well at least, before these, just massive amounts of rainfall that we received. But, there are going to be more and more infringements on these rights, and owners of property, water rights, just about everything will be kind of taken over by the state. And so when that happens, people are going to be upset. People are going to react, and the federal government knows that a lot of these police departments, I mean, if you look at the guy that's organizing Operation Counter Jade Helm, I I mean, he's a Kerrville police officer, former sheriff or
right.
deputy. So they
right.
don't trust the police. This is a way to, get into all of these counties and operate where I think that they plan on having a lot of pushback, and that is small rural towns.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that about the water rights situation there. I had absolutely no idea. But there just seems to be several things swirling around Texas.
Oh, yeah.
One of which is the gold repatriation.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I don't think Texas is going to get a single ounce of gold, and I think Abbott is balking in that whole bill. I think that whole bill is a farce, personally.
Yeah, one of my things, I always look for a sinister plot, and I thought, well, this might be a great way to have the state now, because it can legally take gold as money, forcing people to hand over their precious metals if they owe taxes. It's kind of a way for them to tax gold as well, because it's now going to be an official currency, and they can extinguish debts in it. I don't know that to be the case. Well, time will only tell. But I don't think that they would be doing it without a decent reason, and I doubt it's very virtuous. And how many people out there are using gold coins trying to shop at Walmart? I mean, absolutely no one. So who would be using this gold as currency? I mean, most people that have gold are collecting it rather than trying to use it for a currency. So I don't see the need or the demand for it. So why? I have the same question. Why would the government want to take this as currency? Are they having people trying to pay their bills in gold and they're just not able to take it? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't know. I think it was kind of like what you were saying earlier. I think Abbott is trying to please his constituents initially. For right now, I think he's trying to appease people, but I actually don't think they're sincere about it. I don't even know if they were going to use it for kind of monetary exchange, but
yeah.
The way they're talking about it now, they're saying, well, we don't even know what we're going to do with the gold because we don't even have a depository built.
Right.
Well, the first thing I would do is get the gold first, and then you can stick it anywhere you want to. I mean, the last thing you need to do is worry about building a depository. And so once they start coming out with language like that, there's something going on.
Oh, indeed, absolutely, Dave. Appreciate the phone call, and when you ask logical questions, that's where the government starts having problems providing those answers. And yeah, I'm really interested to see if it goes anywhere. I doubt it will. I'm pretty skeptical like you, Dave. Let's go to Fort Worth right here in Texas and talk to Ken. Ken, welcome.
Yeah. About 2 weeks ago, for a period of maybe 2 weeks, there was this black guy down at the Fort Worth Public Library, and he had a hat on that said SEALs on it and said Navy shirt on it. And we started talking, and he's an easygoing guy, preacher-type guy. Mm-hmm. But he would never have a book, never got a video, or he never had a paper in his hand. And I started talking to him, and he said he was on duty.
Why would Navy SEALs be at the library? That's pretty weird.
He had a uniform on.
Wow.
I just figured out, was he somebody came out of Jade Helm ahead of time, just snoop around, or what? A pleasant guy, easygoing guy, and smart, and I couldn't figure. He told me he was on duty. I go, hello?
Yeah, did you get him to try to, I would have asked him, what's your duty? What's your mission?
Well, his mission was walk around and talk to people and snoop around, because he was always out in front, and he would walk around, but he never had a book, never had a magazine, never had a newspaper. He never, not even get on a computer. I went, what you doing here?
It's not a very good way to snoop around, though, in full gear. I don't know. I mean, part of it, Jade Helm is they're supposed to be integrating into the public in civilian clothes. So I don't know.
Up on his head it says special, and Navy shirt, but nothing official. He was in civilian clothing, in civilian.
Okay. Huh. All right.
I just want to let you know, and maybe people can look around and see if they find them in front of their library. They're snooping around. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Ken. Thanks for the phone call.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I wouldn't think that that would be part of the Jade Helm operation, just hanging out at the library. I mean, most of the stuff that's digital, I imagine the NSA or Department of Homeland Security could get all of the information that they want about just about anybody there, and with surveillance. So I don't know. Maybe this is just a way to intimidate people. Maybe they had somebody there, like yourself, Ken, that was Googling something that was, I don't know, maybe too dangerous, and they, I mean, it seems like an intimidation campaign, to be in full uniform, just hanging out at the library talking to people. And really, I mean, that's kind of a reconnaissance, or what would you call it? An information gathering campaign. So, I don't know. Seems very odd though, because SEALs are usually, people that slide in and, install new dictators, assassinate people, coup d'etats. They allegedly kill people like Bin Laden. So it doesn't seem like a job for a Navy SEAL. So I don't know. Maybe he was just giving you, a story there, Ken. There's a lot of people that like to dress up in uniforms, and they pretend that they have powers that they really don't. You'll find them all the time. Speaking of Jade Helm, looking towards Argentina, Christina Kuchner is an interesting person. Argentina, of course, has a very interesting history with the British government and the Falkland Islands. And so the Falkland, Islands. And the latest is they have a new intelligence agency. The other one was assassinating people, probably at the behest of Miss Kuchner. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But basically, there was a very prominent lawyer whistleblower that was going to bring state's evidence in a very odd assassination plot that took fold, and the gentleman was assassinated. But he was going to bring evidence against Kushner, working to suppress Iran's role in an assassination years back. So, it brought a lot of international scrutiny to the Argentinian intelligence agencies, and the Congress, I think it was the Congress, decided through decree that they would disassemble the intelligence agencies. Well, they put together a new one, and it's pretty interesting. Its focus, it's probably the focus of most intelligence agencies. The focus will be economic coups, bank runs, and currency offloads. On July 7th, the Christina Kirchner administration published a decree, this from the Pan Am Post, settling the new guidelines for Argentina's Federal Intelligence Agency, the AFI, formed in January. The new intelligence agency will be tasked with unique roles such as preventing economic coups. And the aforementioned, the 400-page document, which we have at blacklistednews.com, lays out how the government will handle future authorizations for wiretaps on intelligence targets, shifting responsibility from the judiciary to the public ministry. So it's a power grab by the executive. Not very surprising. Getting rid of the judges, getting rid of anybody that would have oversight of the legality, the legal authorization for these wiretaps, and creating, their own little CIA. And I'm not surprised. But these are the things that the government of not only Argentina is focused on, but the U.S. government. So when you go back to Jade Helm, what is the government worried about? What would they be so interested in small-town Americana for? And it's because of the huge change in landscape, the resentment, and the backlash from having a completely unresponsive government. The reason that the federal government is in a battle for the hearts and minds of not only people around the world, but the American people themselves, is because if you look at just about every metric, the American people are fed up with the federal government. Congress has never had a lower approval rating. The dictator Barack Obama has never had a lower approval rating. It might have boosted, but and I wouldn't trust those polls very much. But, I mean, across the board, government is almost completely unresponsive to the wants of the American people. And at some point, the bullet hits the bone, the rubber meets the road, and people get sick and tired of being taxed with absolutely no representation. It happens all the time. It's happened throughout history. Once you have a government that is only operating in its own self-interest, you have problems. And the government realizes that, and they are preparing for people out there just like you, just like this sheriff there in, sheriff's deputy in Kerrville, who no longer trust the government and are organizing against them. So, it's pretty evident that the government itself, has built this apparatus around surveilling and monitoring the American people, because the fact that more of the focus is on fighting crime and fighting the American people, now the Department of Homeland Security, the fusion centers, I mean, very little of the police state is focused on preventing or protecting American citizens from terrorism, because there just isn't enough terrorism that isn't, an FBI concoction to really justify the billions of dollars that they're spending. So who is the enemy? Who is the target? It's average people out there that become disenfranchised. And I'm sorry to say that many of you out there have become disenfranchised. I'm not sorry that you're disenfranchised. You're rightly disenfranchised. I'm disenfranchised because the government no longer works for the best interest of people, and it's becoming very evident that, and becoming more of a talking point, that we have special interests that drive political decisions. I mean, TPP is a perfect example. When people can no longer stop corporations, international corporations, from operating and conducting business in their own, hometowns that they have voted and put laws in place to prevent. Monsanto, good example. Dallas passed an anti-fracking bill. Our governor, the aforementioned Greg Abbott, vetoed or used an executive order to stop any kind of legal shutting down of oil fracking. So when Monsanto comes to town and you can't get rid of them, people are going to get more upset. All right, quick break. We will wrap it up. We have Art he's off the grid. We'll talk to him and you as well. 800-313-9443. More coming your way. It's Blacklisted Radio.
Do-do-do-do-do. Who is the girl wearing nothing but a smile and a towel in the picture on the billboard in the field near the big old highway?
All right, welcome back. It's Blacklisted Radio. Final segment is upon us. We go straight to the phone lines and talk to Art, who is off the grid. Fortunate for him. Art, welcome to Blacklisted Radio.
How's it going, man?
Wonderful. It's good to hear from you. How are you doing, bud?
Oh, not too bad. It's been a long time. I think last time I talked to you, you were on Oracle, I believe.
That's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a couple hours, I think. Talking about, I wanted to kind of comment on that one caller there, talking about the fellow at the library.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go on a limb here and say that guy's a poser. And the reason I say this is because I've watched, I can't even begin to tell you how many videos I've watched, articles I've read, the research I've done on this whole Jade Helm thing ever since I learned about it several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a video out of one of the coordinators directly involved in Jade Helm 15 giving a speech at a Texas town hall meeting, and he actually comes out. It's you can find it on YouTube. It's called Jade Helm 15 Decoded.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting video. And this guy is telling the people at the town hall meeting, he says, look, you're not going to see guys in battle gear running through your neighborhoods. That's not what you're going to see. He said what you might see is what is pretty typical for Texas, guys and gals walking around with camouflage pants and a T-shirt. And that's pretty typical of, for Texas, especially during hunting season.
Sure.
He says, in fact, if you notice my guys, then they're probably doing something wrong. He said, because the only way that you'll actually be able to spot them, and this goes for the civilians who are involved, like store owners, property owners who are participants, he said the only way you're going to know it is they'll be wearing an armband. So this guy hanging out at a library and all this gear and all, this is probably some poser, and this wouldn't be the first time, because I've seen people in full uniform pretending to be military, and I've called them out, and turned out they're just pretending, and then when they get called, and so this wouldn't be the first time you've had some asshat out there pretending to be something he's not.
Right.
So if you see somebody in full gear, be skeptical, because these guys aren't supposed to be running around your neighborhoods and hanging out places in full battle gear.
Yeah, and you're trying to bring your attention upon yourself, and that's why I probably think it's a poser as well, because Navy SEALs don't usually highlight or advertise the fact that they are Navy SEALs. Or the whole point is that you're an operator. And, to sit there and, tell people, hey, I'm in the military, I've got this hat, and, I'm a Navy SEAL, and I'm just hanging out at the library. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. And what would be the point? That's the only thing I could understand, or the only thing that would make any sense is if you had somebody that was wanting to intimidate. But, the Navy SEALs are assassins. That is their job. Right. And they may be working with, special operations to get information. And that's really what it's about. It's about to work with the cities and extract information about the maybe unruly locals. Art, thanks for the phone call. I have to agree with you. And thanks. I'd love to hear more about your analysis on Jade Helm. Guys, I'm out of time. Thank you so much for being part of the show. All of the callers, if you'd like a free T-shirt, you just email me, Doug@blacklistednews.com, reference your call, and I'll shoot you out one. And I'll be back live next weekend, maybe from IPCPR if I can. And if not, we'll have lots of exclusive content and much more for you at blacklistedраdio.com. Have a great evening and take care.